Affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. It's a Wednesday night. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel, all connected from different spots. I'm coming to you from the home studio tonight. A little late getting out of Northeast Columbia, traffic of bears, so turned around and came back to the home studio. Yes, I hear you cackling. Hey, you only have to walk 50 feet. You only have to walk 50 feet. To your studio.
But you know how long it takes you to get there. I've just never understood that. But yeah, glad you're with us.
It's not for you to understand. That's the thing. Okay, let me give you a little message. It's not for you to understand. I understand, and that's all that matters. But no, I was a little late getting dressed and getting out. So I just said, you know what? I'm not going to bust it trying to get through the traffic. Why risk harm, injury, speeding ticket, blown engine, whatever the case might be, had I tried to get there. So we are at the home studio. Pat is downtown, and you are in Sardis. And our phone numbers are 888-898-2525 for you NASCAR fans. That's 4 Dale Juniors, a Bill Elliott, another Dale Jr., and then for you Gamecock fans, it's a Rick Sanford double. Sanford, there for the 25. Just in case you can't handle the number part of it. 888-898-2525 is how you can reach us. Speaking of NASCAR, they did make official today the new schedule for 2024. And as Bob Pockris first reported, and we talked about it with Kerry Tharp last night, Darlington will be, instead of the first playoff race, they will be the final regular season race of 2024. They'll have 2 races that weekend, an Xfinity race on Saturday, and then I guess it would be the Cookout Southern 500 at this point, and that'll be a 6 o'clock race on the USA Network on Labor Day weekend. They'll have 3 races in the spring, May 10 through May 12. Truck race on Friday, Xfinity on Saturday, Cup race at 3 o'clock on FX1 on that Sunday, May 12th, which I guess is Mother's Day weekend in 2024, I'm thinking. Usually falls about that time. Yeah. So Darlington, the good news is they do have the 2 races. I don't think it's bad news that they necessarily don't have a playoff race, Chris. Yes, the playoff race is great because it's the playoffs, and drivers are going for that win. Those who are in the playoffs going for that win to secure a spot in the next round. But then again, the last race before the playoffs, the one that will decide the last few spots in the playoffs, that can be pretty exciting in and of itself.
I think it's actually better for Darlington that it's not a playoff race. I like the last race of the regular season coming down. You could have 2, 3, 4 drivers, obviously more than that, but realistically 2 to 5 drivers that have to either contend very well or win that race. And at a place like Darlington, knowing that you've got to go there and win to get into the playoffs, I think that's outstanding news. Now, again, NASCAR, as much we do schedule and moving things around and trying to keep the broadcast schedule, I never understand why NASCAR allows NBC and also Fox to most historic track on the circuit over to their alternate channels. It just boggles the mind. Mm-hmm. NASCAR constantly talks about how great Darlington is. It's a iconic event. It's one of the crown jewels of NASCAR. So let's throw it over on FS1 during the spring, and let's throw it over to the USA Network during the fall. I mean, it just makes zero sense. You want to promote your top-notch races, your top-notch tracks. I don't know. Put it on the Big Bird. Let it be on NBC. Let it be on Fox. I mean, what are they contending with on Fox over Mother's Day weekend? They can't put it there.
That's a good question. I don't know.
A Major League Baseball game in May? It makes zero sense. Some reality show? NASCAR does a horrible job with this kind of stuff. And that has always irked me. that NBC does not broadcast the Southern 500, and oftentimes Fox puts the the Mother's Day weekend race over on FS1. I'm flabbergasted. I really am. I just don't get it.
You sound speechless over it.
I am. It bothers me so much.
Yeah.
The stupid stuff that NASCAR does.
Yeah, they do a lot of stupid stuff. But let's be thankful. Let's be thankful that for Darlington's sake and for the state of South Carolina, we still have 2 races, one in the spring and one in the fall. And the spring race, I'm sure, will be the throwback weekend. I'm sure they'll continue to promote that in the spring. And the fall race will have additional meaning as well, being the last race of the regular season for the Cup Series. A couple of other things from the schedule announced today. So Daytona, the second race at Daytona, will move up to the week before Darlington. That one will be on NBC. The Darlington race will be on USA. They go back on the big track at Indianapolis on Sunday, July 21st. They go racing on the streets of Chicago again on July 7th. They make their first Cup appearance at the 7/8 mile track at Iowa Speedway on June 16th. The All-Star race returns to North Wilkesboro on May 19th, a week after Darlington. And everything else looks pretty much the same. The Daytona 500, February 18th. The dual races, the 15th. The Clash will be at the LA Coliseum on the 4th. One other change, no dirt at Bristol. They go back to the hard track for both races at Bristol in 2024. Okay, so we got that done. Of course, South Carolina wrapped up practices for the week since it's their off week. Clemson continued their practices for Wake Forest. We'll have more on that coming up on the show. Also, coming up tonight, MJ Ward will join us in our second half hour. He's back from Italy. He's had enough spaghetti and linguine and lasagna and probably a bunch of wine. You know, based on what we know about MJ, he seems like a connoisseur of fine wine. So he'll wrap up the Ryder Cup from his perspective and what a meltdown it was for the U.S. in so many ways. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you, the way some of that stuff played out. And, you know, the Ryder Cup sort of brings out the worst of golf fans, and it also brings out the worst of the golfers. Think about this. We watch golf tournaments all year long. Okay, the Ryder Cup comes up every 2 years, but we watch golf tournaments all year long leading up to the Ryder Cup for 2 years. These guys are stoic. They are professional. They are polite. I mean, there might be some little infighting going on, but they try to keep it behind closed doors, behind the curtains. They want to present a certain persona of professionalism, trying to maintain the etiquette that is part of golf, right? Seems to me like when we get to the Ryder Cup for both golfer and fan, that just goes out the window. Like, I was watching some of the Ryder Cup for the singles matches because I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning to fly out of Syracuse. So it was on, and I'm watching. And I mean, like, and I know it's all in fun and to some degree because it's the competitive nature between Europe and the United States. Sure. But they introduced each golfer by either United States or Europe. And, of course, the European golfer received a resounding cheers and applause, and the American golfer was he was booed like Gamecock fans would boo Cade Klubnik or Clemson fans would boo Spencer Rattler. I mean, it's that kind of vociferousness that you don't normally see at a golf tournament outside of Phoenix, really. And on the one hand, you know, it's kind of fun to see everybody kind of let their hair down around a golf tournament for a weekend. But then again, it does fly in the face of what golf has stood for over all these, centuries, right? I mean, it's supposed to be a gentleman's game, a polite game. And we're turning it, I'm afraid, like everything else in our new generation, we're turning golf into wrestling now. At least what I saw this past weekend, we're turning it into WWE.
Well, it's like that at every Ryder Cup that I can remember. And I think it actually started, we can probably take some credit here in South Carolina for that, because I think the War by the Shore at Kiowa Island was when that sort of started. And fans felt like they could cheer their team and jeer the other team. And it sort of blossomed from there. I don't have a problem with it, quite frankly. I think it adds a lot of excitement to the golf. I think it's a lot of fun that you can boo you do it at every other sporting event, as long as the language is clean and it's not vulgar type stuff. But if you're cheering really hard for your team and disappointed when the other team makes a putt or makes a nice shot, I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I think that's one thing that golf needs. Spice it up a little bit. That's part of the reason I love the Ryder Cup so much.
I'm right there with you, Chris. I could not love it more. And I think my generation and folks a little older, a little younger, we grew up loving Happy Gilmore. We watched that and thought, golly, wouldn't that make golf a lot more fun? I mean, maybe you have to draw a line somewhere, but this sounds comparable to the line of thinking of baseball, and not like the old rules of baseball of pegging people for quote unquote showing up the pitcher, and how dare you celebrate after hitting a massive 450-foot home run. I love seeing the personality. It's nice seeing people actually express themselves, and that does differentiate the Ryder Cup from maybe a normal event. I mean, tickets, I've been trying to go out to the Waste Management Open out in Phoenix now for half a decade, but it's been damn near impossible to get tickets just to even go, because it's sold out almost a year in advance. Now, the flip side of that, look at the Masters. The Masters might be the hardest ticket to get in all of sports, arguably, and that is more in line with what you're saying, Phil. It's more of what the historical vantage point of golf is, with the buttoned up, the tucked in, the neat, and the little golf clap and whatever. But this is kind of the evolution of it. I mean, I'm reading an article here too, where over the last 3 years, we've seen a steady 15 to 20% increase in rounds played all across the United States. Golf has never been more popular than it is right now, at least in our country. I don't know about worldwide, but in the United States, I think younger folks are being attracted to golf that maybe were not attracted to the ho-hum old school approach of golf, and people seem to like it.
Have y'all got to change everything? Have you people, I'm talking about you people, have y'all just got to change everything that the rest of us have grown up with? Has everything got to be changed? You got to mess with golf too?
Yes.
I don't know that we're messing with golf. We're just messing with the way it's viewed. I mean, to me, it livens up the situation. I think it's awesome.
Same.
I really do.
Golf is to be played in a library.
And that's,
we golfers, of course, you two don't play golf. You can't appreciate the amount of brain power and focus it takes to hit that little white ball. Okay?
I'd argue it takes more brain power to hit it when somebody's booing you or calling you names.
You're going to tell me it's more difficult to hit a stationary ball off a tee than it is a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that's moving while somebody's yelling at you?
Not comparing the two. I'm just saying those of us who are elite golfers, we like quiet. So, shut up when I'm on the tee. Did you know, I did not know this. I'm just seeing this story from the state newspaper. Did you see this story that Chapel Fowler wrote this morning? I didn't realize, never even crossed my mind that South Carolina and Clemson have to sign contracts to play each other in football. Did you know that?
No. To answer your question, no. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I would have thought it was just a given. But, they sign contracts for every other game on their schedule. Why Clemson or USC would be any different for the schools. But, no, I would have never thought that.
Well, the story is about 14 months out from next year's game, 24. The two sides have yet to sign a contract for that game. Representatives from both schools said the delay shouldn't raise any red flags about the status of the rivalry, which will be played for the 120th time this November. The state newspaper put in a public records request revealing that Clemson's 2024-2027 game agreement, that's 2024 through 2027 game agreement with South Carolina, has still not been executed. Reps from both schools described the delay in signing the next contract, which is nearly complete, as minor. Clemson USC, a spokesman told the state this week both schools fully intend to sign and finalize the contract. Well, I would hope so, for crying out loud. The schools, as they're publicly stated, will keep executing future game contracts with each other beyond 2027. blah, blah, blah. They're in the second year of a 2-year contract. I just did not realize. I guess they just have to. I would just think that, your two state universities have to play each other. I know there's no law. There needs to be a law. We should have a law because things are changing and they're in different conferences right now. And something could come up that could interfere. Texas A&M, for example. Kansas, Missouri, because those aren't in the same state, but in the state, things could come up to get in the way. The schools played each other in a 4-year game agreement from 17 to 21. It was altered because of COVID and because of the idiot commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. 4-year contracts to play each other. Clemson spokesperson said, adding that a contract 14 months or sooner before game date is a regular occurrence. Blah, history, blah, blah, voted unanimously. Okay, so anyway, I didn't realize that this thing had to have a signed contract.
Should we read
They were also
into that,
talking about the idea of maybe, potentially a new date. They routinely play each other the end of the season, including 16 consecutive games on Saturday after Thanksgiving. They haven't played each other earlier than November in 64 years. Of course, they used to play in October. Okay, so it hasn't always been the end of the year. It used to be on Big Thursday in October because it was connected to the state fair.
Right.
And Ray Tanner acknowledged last year the SEC moving to a 9-game conference schedule could put Clemson, South Carolina in a spot where they need to play earlier in the season. Oh, man. I just can't stomach that. I just can't stomach that. I mean,
now that's one thing I will agree with you. I don't want to see changed at all. But I'm curious too. Can we read into that? There are concerns that, hey, what happens if Clemson does join the SEC? How does that all get worked out? And they don't want to have a situation. Who was it? Georgia and Oklahoma were supposed to play this year, and the SEC made them cancel that game because Oklahoma's coming into the league.
Mm-hmm.
Is that maybe why a rivalry game, or at least a big-time game that you're going to want to play, maybe you don't go any further than 2 years out now? And this may not just be at Carolina Clemson. I mean, this may be North Carolina, NC State. I mean, we could go across the board now with so much movement in college sports. Maybe you're afraid to sign something 5, 10, 15 years down the road anymore.
Yeah. Well, don't mess it up, people. Okay, whatever you do, just don't. This is one thing that the people of South Carolina can agree on, okay? Don't screw up the South Carolina-Clemson rivalry, the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry, depending on which side of the fence you're standing on, okay? It doesn't need your assistance. Just leave it alone. And if these conference commissioners and these conferences want to, this is where our lawmakers have better take a preemptive strike here. I mean, if you want it to continue, and if you want it to continue as the last game, I mean, pass a law and say it must be played, and it must be played as the last regular season game. And I think the leagues will have to work with you to accommodate that. They have to accommodate that. They're not gonna make Auburn and Alabama play in October, are they? You think they'll move that game in October? You think they would take the Iron Bowl and play it in October?
No. How ridiculous would that be? Run the same weekend as Florida, Georgia, and Jacksonville. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? There's no way that would happen. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no way. You want to talk about a riot.
Cut us a slack. Cut us some slack here.
And as much as the NCAA and the SEC and the ACC and everybody else is afraid of state government now, especially with regards to name, image, and likeness, that's one thing I think Columbia could do, get it signed real quickly, and I think you'd get 100%. This would be the one thing that you might get 100% unanimous vote on. Carolina Clemson playing every year on the last week of the regular season.
Okay, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. Feel free to chime in and to share your thoughts on that or anything else about the way the season's gone so far, or what's coming up for Clemson and Wake Forest. Is Clemson stepping into a dangerous situation with Wake Forest, or should the Tigers handle the Demon Deacons with relative ease? This is a hard Wake Forest team to kind of figure out based on the start of their season, but they've had 2 weeks to get ready for Clemson, so you got to figure they've thrown some new wrinkles into the game plan. They've gotten a little bit healthier. Clemson's in pretty good shape health-wise too, so should be from a Clemson standpoint, should be a healthy Clemson team, except for the folks who are out for the season. They should be primed and ready to go against Wake Forest. No reason for Clemson to take anybody or anything for granted, considering where they are in their situation on this season. So let's go to our opening break, and we'll come back with more. You want to join in? Give us a call, 888-898-2525. It's a busy news day. We'll go over as much of the news information as we can. The NCAA got busy today and passed a bunch of legislation or sent proposals down the line that are expected to be approved. We'll talk about that coming up after this break on Sports Talk.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
A little tight on the segment, so we'll get to calls after the break. Those of you who have dialed in, hang in there. We'll get to you right after the break. That's a promise that I will attempt to keep. I don't always keep on promises. I'll do the best I can. U.S. announced today that they're going to honor the football teams from their winningest era, 2010 to 2013, during the November 4th game against those hairy Jacksonville State Gamecocks. And Steve Spurrier is going to be there, and Steve Spurrier is going to talk to the crowd at halftime. Okay?
What kind of reaction do you think he'll get from USC
Oh, I
fans?
think he'll be widely cheered. This isn't Ryder Cup. I think he'll be wildly cheered. I really do. Apple and Amazon have had preliminary discussions, this is from Front Office Sports, about bidding on the college football playoffs. And so far, those streamers haven't been able to obtain top-tier college sports rights, but they're not giving up. Okay? You better get your Amazon account, or you better get your your Apple account if you want to watch these championships. You know they're going to throw a ton of money at them. Be back after this break. Get to your phone calls. Don't go away.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy tonight with the low temp dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and a few clouds and a little noticeable haze from those Canadian wildfires. We'll top out with a high of 82. Friday, a mix of sun and clouds and 83 the high. Cooler on the weekend. Saturday's high is 77, while on Sunday, just a high of 70. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Flat Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. New poll looks good for the GOP. The numbers from a new Gallup poll in which 53% say Republicans are the best party to handle the economy compared to 39% for the Democrats. The numbers do not bode well for President Biden as he seeks a second term. International Monetary Fund says it does expect the U.S. to continue playing its role in giving multinational support to keep Ukraine's economy afloat during the Russian invasion. That's despite Congress passing the short-term funding package last week, averting a U.S. government shutdown, but dropped billions in aid to Ukraine. And that strike is underway now. 75,000 employees at Kaiser Permanente walking off the job today in a number of states around the country. This is SRN News.
Let's see. We're counting down to opening day of hunting season for the whole state in October. Get this, Shooter's Choice and Vortex Optics, bringing you the chance to have your rifle gear prepared for your hunt. October 6th and 7th, Shooter's Choice will have Vortex Optics in the house for factory optic days for all hunters and outdoor fanatics. Come out and join the Vortex Nation with a purchase of any Vortex optic that fits your needs at huge, unbelievable discounts. Long-range shooting, carbine rifle, quick acquisition to the best light-gathering all-purpose hunting scopes, and don't forget the red dot sights being used on many pistols. They are all on sale now. Every scope is fog-proof, waterproof, quick focus, and with the clearest lens in the industry. Oh, they also come with lifetime warranties. Shooter's Choice will professionally mount your new purchase for you. Check out the Razors, Diamondbacks, and Crossfire 2s, guaranteed to make your hunting package great. Visit Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. You won't be sorry when you score your first trophy of the season. The Vortex Nation is calling you, and the hunt is on. So make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago that spending my marketing dollars at the point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local to partner with him in 2023 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
All right, welcome back. It is Sports Talk on a Wednesday night. 888-898-2525. We say goodbye to the Tampa Bay Rays. Team that had the hottest start in baseball this year and the coldest finish in the playoffs. 0-2, and they are barbecued by Texas today, 7-1. So Texas advances to the ALDS. Minnesota looking to close out Toronto, the American League not beast, American League least. Toronto trailing Minnesota 2-0. Go Twins. Twins are my new team in the playoffs, by the way. Let's go Twinkies. Harmon Killebrews and all those types. Okay, phone number 888-898-2525. Let's go to Hank in Columbia, get some calls in. All goes well. We'll have MJ Ward coming up in a few minutes. Hank, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Doing fine, Phil. Friends college football.
Television.
Okay. I knew you were going to say that. I know you that well. So,
am I that easy to read?
Football. Yeah, easy.
He's right.
So, because television runs college football, you don't have to worry about Clemson and Carolina playing the last game of the season, whether Clemson's in the SEC or out the SEC. Because television over the last, 10, 20 years has created that big thing right after Thanksgiving, rivalry week, and they've moved games just so they can get as many rivalry games on that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as Clemson is a brand and South Carolina the SEC, they're gonna make sure that they with the conferences that they get all those rivalry games at the same time because they call it rivalry feast. They have they do a whole marketing thing on that.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anything when it comes to these sort of things. I hear what you're saying. It makes sense. It's what they've been doing, but nothing surprises me. I never would have ever expected in my lifetime that the outside of well, I guess COVID was a national catastrophe, but I never thought something like that would interrupt the South Carolina Clemson series the way it was back in what was that 2020.
Yeah, well, that almost interrupted college football for a lot. There were a lot of leagues that didn't even play.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But if you're going to play, I just never understood the rationale that Greg Sankey used by saying that their COVID practices compared to the ACC, they didn't want to mix and mingle COVID practices. They were going to have all their teams using their practices and staying away from other leagues. And I just, because they only played league games that year.
Yeah, but if you remember, Corin, remember all the foolishness that went on in the ACC with the last-minute cancellation by Florida State, the game with Clemson and all that. That would have probably been even worse if you had two conferences going through that.
I mean, if you do you think Florida State was making it up? Do you think they were lying about the numbers of players that were sick?
I don't know, but when the bickering started to go back and forth, you at least had a commissioner that had them both in the league that could say everybody cease and desist. If it was going between two leagues, you probably would have had a problem. Remember how the alliance looked in the Big Ten and all that other stuff. So.
And that was the light bulb moment for a lot of people in our nation about how inept the NCAA is, by the way, too, with all that. There were no universal rules. Every commissioner, every conference was basically just doing whatever they thought was right. Yeah, it was frustrating.
Well, I think they should have. Now, the SEC went with 10 games that year, all league games. I think they should have looked at the members and seen that, you got some that play rivalry games from outside the conference that needed to be respected. They should have gone to an 11-game schedule to accommodate those teams, and they didn't. They went with the 10. They stayed in conference. And South Carolina, again, if Auburn and Alabama were in separate leagues, but their rivalry is what it has been, which it would have been. Let's just say they were in separate leagues. They would have found a way. Auburn, Alabama
But
would have
Corn,
found a way to play.
but one
That's
thing
just
you have
my
to give
opinion on
Sankey,
that,
though.
and you're not going to turn me from it, sir.
No, but I'm saying one thing you have to give Sankey on that. If it wasn't for Sankey, there might not have been any college football. Because remember how the other big leagues started out in terms that they weren't going to play.
If it wasn't for the players, remember
In the
it was
other
Trevor.
leagues, but remember Sankey said he was going to play. Sankey said the SEC had made the decision. But in the Big Ten, the players started, those other leagues, the players started to revolt when they saw the SEC having games.
And Trevor Lawrence was among the front runners of that whole deal about pushing to play. So, yeah, I guess Sankey and the SEC, knowing how important football is to that league, I mean, they were not going to have a season go by the boards if they could avoid it. So I give them credit for making sure we had something. It was the strangest thing, of course, that we've ever experienced, with teams limiting themselves to, in some cases, 15,000 fans or fewer,
right? Yeah,
and spreading them out throughout the stadium and all that kind of stuff. I tell you what, though, sure made for nice traffic flow. It was very easy to get to the games and get to the stadiums on those days. I can promise you that. But I'll never forget, I went to Tallahassee on that day. And there was a noon kickoff, and I was staying in a hotel right off the Florida State campus, so I had plenty of time. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. Plenty of time. My wife called me. She says, "What you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to go to the football game." And she said, "What game?" I hadn't turned on television, hadn't even looked at my phone. She said, "What game?" "I'm going to Clemson, Florida State." She goes, "No, you're not." She had seen the news.
Oh.
I hadn't seen the news. I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "That game's been canceled." I said, "What do you mean?" And then I started looking, at my phone, catching up on the news and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So, all right, Hank, sounds like the wife is telling you to come to dinner.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
See you later.
But the whole insanity, and I don't want to revisit and re-legislate this, but the whole insanity about the COVID situation, because there were no group of people in the United States that were more vaccinated, more tested, more safe than college athletes. And I just never understood why we needed to even consider canceling games, especially outdoors.
Yeah.
None of that made any sense to me whatsoever, but they never asked me. So I just went and got my shots like I was supposed to and got my tests, and I got to travel and do everything I normally do.
888-898-2525. Gamecock Larry is with us next here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, Gamecock Larry. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, Mr. Phil. Pat, and I yelled into high school. Came 75 years too late for the old Gamecock. Another thing, I'm getting tired of these, and the Gamecock Larry that made a thing. Last night I woke up at 3:15 this morning, and I decided I'm going to act like I got some sense. I'm going to quit making all these predictions and all that. I'm going to be old and mellow. I got some sense. Okay, you Gamecock fans, Holland, Beamer, the honeymoon is over. Beamer this, Beamer that. Step can't coach wide receivers. Let me tell you something, you Gamecock fans. Out of that team that we got down there, them young men, we got 47 freshmen and redshirt freshmen. We got 22 sophomores. And we got 19 juniors and seniors. We are building, Beamer and the staff is building a program. We're going to hit the transfer portal a little bit better, and we're going to get some transfers in. Some leave, some go, but we're going to get some coming back. Now, you Gamecock fans, quit hollering. You don't build. I don't know what in the world Muschamp left us, but he didn't leave us nothing. But he's going to build it up, and we're going to be okay. And another thing, can I do this? I want to wish my caregiver and my baby girl's daughter a happy birthday. Today is her birthday, and she told me, Daddy, I want $500 to go to the fair. I said, baby girl, the last time I went to the fair, you was in a stroller. And today you my caregiver. Now you supposed to be giving the care, but I think I give most of the care. I said, I'll just go ahead and start me a go. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe to get my baby girl
Fair.
Tanya to the fair. $500. Anybody want to make a contribution? Send it to Phil, and Mr. Phil will take it and get it to me. Well, I tell you what, I'm feeling good like an old Gamecock should. But Gamecock Larry gonna talk like he got some sense. From now on, we gonna take one game at a time. One game at a time. We will be in the Final Four in 2024, Gamecock fans. Hope I'm around to see it. That's about all I got to say. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Larry. Hope you're around to see many more seasons of Gamecock football. And I mean, $500 to go
Can you
to the
spend
fair.
that much
What
money
are you
at the
planning
fair?
to do? I mean, seriously. How many times are you going to ride the Ferris wheel? How many donuts
many
baked
elephant
in?
ears can you eat?
Yeah, I mean, how many donuts baked in? What do they bake that stuff in? Like grease and put hamburgers
fried
on the
Oreos,
donuts.
all kinds of good
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't know about all that. Save your money.
There's
Put
just
your
no
money to
way.
something. I mean, go to the fair and have a good time, but you don't have to spend $500. I mean, that's a lot of throwing. What do they have? Throwing darts at balloons and things like that. It's been a long time since I went to the fair myself. So
Unless you're buying some of my mom's artwork, please go support your local artists and then spend all the money you can.
There you go.
This is your mom?
Yeah, she and she took up artwork with a lot of her friends as she entered into retirement, and now every year she and a bunch of her friends, they all take a class together every Tuesday out in Newberry. Shout out Newberry, and they all enter their artwork each year into the fair, like so many other local artists around the state. And for those out there that like going to the fair, it's well worth. I think it's in the Canty Building. Stick your head in there, support all your local artists. They have some really good stuff in there, and it'll be a lot cheaper than going to a gallery.
Okay, very good. That sounds like a nice thing to do at the fair, to kind of mix up between the animals and the rides and the food, and get yourself a little culture while you're there as well. Okay, thank you very much for the phone calls. Let's hit the break on Sports Talk, and when we come back, we will either have MJ Ward with us or we'll do something else. Hopefully, MJ will join us. I'm saying hopefully here because we haven't confirmed totally for this time slot, but I'm hoping that he'll be there. If not, we'll move on to something else and we'll get him back with us another time. So we'll be back after this break here on Sports Talk. Don't go away. Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornbluth. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson, and you're invited. It's the place to be in Tiger Town the night before every Clemson football game, home or away. Lakeside has the fantastic restaurant and bar, traditions on the lake, plus an online TV show featuring Tiger legends Joe and Jeff Boston. And we finish with the best live bands in the upstate. Be sure to check out the Hazmatics from Atlanta on September 29th and Odyssey on October 6th. It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson.
Relax with an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union. Here at Founders, we understand that it's more than just a vehicle. It's a part of your life's journey, from hobbies changing to families growing. It's with you along the way. Our low fixed rates can get you on the road in a ride that fits your life. Not sure what you want? Apply early for a pre-approved spending limit so you know what to look for before you start shopping. Head over to one of our 41 convenient office locations or visit foundersfcu.com to apply for an auto loan today. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
South Carolinians, this message is for you. Whether you or a loved one are about to receive Medicare or want to improve your current Medicare situation, Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare is the guy for you. This is Mike Morgan, and I've known Brian for over 20 years. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and here's what I can tell you about Brian. He's not the best-looking guy in the world. He's not a poet. He's not a very good golfer. He can't sing at all, not even in the shower. All of this is true. But here's what else I can tell you about Brian Spencer. There's no one I would trust more with that all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Palmetto Medicare is local, specific, and native to the Palmetto State. Any and all plans in South Carolina are available through Palmetto Medicare, and they offer a free annual Medicare and prescription review. So with that in mind, there's just one phone call to make. 803-960-9484. 803-960-9484. Let Brian Spencer do the one thing he is good at, helping people with all their Medicare needs.
We are back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on the program. Give you some recruiting notes coming up just a little bit. And as far as some of the other things that are going on, I mentioned it's pretty heavy news day. Pass along a few other notes from the day, especially coming from the NCAA, which was busy today, passing some legislation or moving some legislation on through the process. So the NCAA today voted to eliminate the annual limit on initial counters in FBS. So now you can replace as many scholarships as you lose, up to 85 scholarships. So what that means is no more 25 limit, no more 30 limit. There's no limit. You can sign, as long as you don't cross the 85 threshold, sign as many players as you want in any class, which, you know, I'm sitting here trying to just kind of run that through my head and the numbers. So what that would mean is, let's say you finish the season, you've got 85 scholarships, Chris. You finish the season, but as you're going through that season, you know, you're looking at your squad and say you've got 15 seniors, 15 people you know are leaving because they're seniors or they have no more eligibility, okay? All right, so that would take your squad down to 70. So now you got 15 to replace, okay? And you're recruiting based on that number, but then you've got the transfer portal, John, to deal with. How many players are going to leave you through transfers, okay? And they've taken some action towards shortening the transfer portal, John, window as well. So, I mean, I really don't see this as a significant issue, any kind of a problem for the coaches. They usually have a pretty good feel about who's staying, who's going, and they know the ones who are running out of eligibility. So, I mean, I think you can plan. You can also, of course, I don't know that the NCAA has said anything about over-signing. Like when you come out of signing day, let's say you only have 15 spots available, but you signed 20. So now you know 5 more have to depart. Maybe you know some are going to be transferring. Maybe there'll be some you're not going to bring back or what have you. I don't think there's anything in the legislation that says you can't. When do you have to be at 85 by the time practice starts that next season, right? So you could actually oversign. We see this in basketball all the time. Basketball teams oversign, but by the time they get around to the school year when they have to be at the 13 limit, they get down to it. I don't see this as a big issue for the colleges.
Just kind of know exactly what they need within their program, and whether they sign 25, 25, 25, 25 over a 4-year period, or just make sure at some point in time they're down to 85 when the school year starts. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there should be any mandate that you can only sign X number of players, whether it be 25, 30, 40, whatever the case.
Also today, the NCAA changed some D1 membership requirements, announcing that the application fee jumps from $5,000 to $5 million if a school wants to jump from FCS to FBS. $1,000 million. That is pretty significant. Also, they are shortening the transfer windows, and let's see if I've got the actual dates for that. They are shortening the amount of time that you can be in the transfer portal, John. They are making stiffer infractions for their penalties, making less severe sports wagering penalties, implementing NIL registry, standardized contracts, and things like that. I think we talked about that last night. But yeah, the transfer portal window is going to be reduced. I don't have that figure right in front of me. I think it went from, it's going to have one window of 15 days, and then I think it's one window of 30 days. Anybody got that story in front of them?
I do not.
Okay.
Try like you and pull it up.
Yeah. See if I can pull that up here very quickly. They're just going to be shortening it here. Here we go. The rule change will impact all and gives players a total of 45 days throughout the year to enter their names into the transfer portal, John. So you'll have a total of 45 days. You'll have 2 different opportunities. Each sport will have 45 total days. The window for football would open 1 day after the CFP teams are announced. And let's see, last year that was on December the 4th, and it would stay open for 45 days. And was still, the next period would open April 15th through the 30th and will remain the same with the new changes. Under the new rule, there'll be a 30-day window after the season and 15 days in the spring. Okay, so total of 45 days.
The one I found interesting, Phil, of all the things they did today was they are re-examining the sports wagering guidelines, and they're actually going to lessen the penalties if an athlete is involved in sports gambling. I would think you'd want to harshen the penalties, wouldn't you? I mean, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and all the professional leagues take a very strong stance on betting on sports.
Mm-hmm.
Here, the NCAA is almost like, well, kids will be kids. Why don't you go ahead and do that? It seems to me you'd want to discourage that more than encouraging it. Matter of fact, on the first offense, they are considering eliminating the penalties that result in an athlete being withheld from competition, regardless of the dollar value of the wagers. So I've bet $5 million on, our opponent, but I don't have to sit out a game, and I might win $5 million. I'd take that risk.
I mean, there's nothing there's nothing in this particular legislation that limits what athletes and coaches can do from a gambling standpoint when it comes to betting on college games for even their own.
Ross Dellinger said that he's got the draft concepts under consideration include, on a first offense, eliminate penalties that result in student athletes being withheld from competition regardless of the dollar value of the wagers, and including bets placed on other sports at a student-athlete's school, and require education on sports wagering rules and prevention. That's the first offense. Second offense potentially involve withholding penalties depending on the dollar value. And on a third or subsequent offense, resulting penalty could be a loss of one full season of eligibility. So you've got to screw up twice before you get into any serious trouble.
So they still consider it evil and bad, but you've got to do it multiple times before they punish you.
Yeah, because you think that all the sports gambling sites that are paying in to advertise on college football?
Oh, I haven't thought about that. Be back in a moment.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. A new poll looking very good for the GOP.
The numbers come from a new Gallup poll in which 53% of respondents said Republicans are the best party to handle the economy, compared to 39% who said Democrats are. The 14-point edge is the largest Republicans have enjoyed on that topic since 1991. Overall, about three-quarters say they're pessimistic about the economy. The numbers don't bode well for President Joe Biden as he seeks a second term. Bob Agnew reporting.
A prosecutor in New York today accusing FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried of stealing at least $10 billion from his customers, those during the opening statements in a federal trial. Prosecutor Nathan Rain said the 31-year-old California man defrauded thousands of investors and customers in his business by siphoning off money for his own use. Also at townhall.com, some 75,000 healthcare workers at Kaiser Permanente on strike. Donna Warder explains.
On strike are licensed vocational nurses, home health aides, ultrasound sonographers, and various technicians for 3 days in California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State, and for 1 day in Virginia and Washington, D.C. Doctors are not participating, and Kaiser says its hospitals will remain open during the picketing, and that thousands of temporary workers are being brought in to fill gaps. Kaiser and union workers can't agree on wage increases, and the union says understaffing is boosting Kaiser's profits, but is hurting patient care. Kaiser argues that compensation and retention are better than its competitors. I'm Donna Warder.
In the meantime, an anonymous source says progress has been made in talks between the UAW and Detroit's three automakers. That strike nearly 3 weeks old. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
To my newborn baby boy, the day you arrived was one of the happiest days of my life. Right up there with the day I bought my RV from that guy on the internet and insured it with Progressive. What a deal. Just know, son, I'll always be here for you. And by here, I mean in the middle of absolutely nowhere. In my RV.
Protect your baby with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
President Biden canceling an additional $9 billion in student debt today as repayments started up again this month after a 3-year pause. Biden says that his administration has forgiven $127 billion in student loan debt since he took office.
This kind of relief is life-changing for individuals and their families, but it's good for our economy as a whole as well. By freeing millions of Americans from the crushing burden of student debt, it means they can go and get their lives in order. They can think about buying a house. They can start a business. They can be starting a family. This matters.
You, no doubt, like everybody, had one of those white COVID vaccination cards. Now they are being phased out. Vaccines are no longer being distributed by the government, so the CDC has stopped printing those cards. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy tonight with the low temp dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and a few clouds and some noticeable haze from those Canadian wildfires. We'll top out with a high of 82. Friday, a mix of sun and clouds and 83 the high. Cooler on the weekend. Saturday's high is 77, while on Sunday, just a high of 70. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
It's not easy being a veteran.
Coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan, I had been so excited to come home. But it's harder than I thought.
Join us at communityofveterans.org and connect to others who are going through the same thing.
Brought to you by Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. Welcome back. For those of you just joining us, welcome in. Mr. Great first hour, only to be topped by hour number 2, which we begin with another edition of Chalk Talk here on Sports Talk. We have Coach Ellis Johnson sitting at his home, very comfortable, waiting for a nice evening of football. We got 50 straight nights of football beginning tonight. We're so desperate for football, we'll watch anything. Tonight, it's Florida International against New Mexico State. Boy, I tell you what, that's some real football. We're going to watch tonight and diagnose it, but it is football. We got it for 50 straight nights. And
Jacksonville State's playing tonight, too, for you Gamecock fans.
Okay.
Watch them.
Gamecock fans and Gamecock fans.
Exactly.
And on vacation once again, but this time taking time out to join us because somehow we have a phone connection to St. John's down there is that in the Virgin Islands? Can't believe that Coach Reedy would be down there in the Virgin Islands. Chuck Reedy, down there way down south somewhere. Let's welcome in Coach Ellis Johnson. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Phil. Hope you're doing good tonight.
So far, so good. Coach Reedy, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. I'm enjoying time down here with my family, but I can't say away. I just enjoy you and Ellis so much. I just love y'all, and I couldn't not be on the show tonight.
Couldn't bear to be away from us. I understand. We really,
no, I could.
really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So let's get to the games from this past weekend. Ellis, let's start with you and Tennessee's defense against the Gamecocks. Were the Gamecocks, in your opinion, were they that bad up front, or was Tennessee just that good, especially coming off the edge?
Phil, maybe it's a little too early in the year for us to draw any really final conclusions about anything. Statistics and a lot of other things I think will mean a lot more in a few weeks. But Tennessee does look a little bit quicker up front. But I just thought it was obviously an exposure of the youth and the turmoil going on up front. So many different guys have been put in different positions in that offensive line. I got to watch a lot of it, and a lot of times we don't see the entire game, trying to see so many we do, but it was not good. And I'm very concerned about it. They got to get some guys healthy. They got to get a group working together consistently, on the same page. And it's hard enough when your offensive line plays well, the running back's got to be able to protect the guy. But Spencer Rattler, I just can't say enough about him. And I almost feel sorry for him.
Yeah, he took a lot of hits once again. Chuck, in a situation like that, did they do enough to help those young offensive linemen by keeping running backs in or tight ends in? Should they have done more of that, or would that have just defeated what they were trying to do with their offense?
Well, certainly they could have done that. They've got to help the left tackle. He's not very quick. He's inexperienced, and they put a speed rusher over there. And they're going to have a problem. Every time they drop back to pass. this is 5 weeks now, and nothing has changed. Can't run the football. I mean, they had about 40 yards rushing, other than the one long run, and they can't protect the passer. It's a bad combination. And Ellis is right. I mean, Spencer Rattler, is doing everything he can do, but he's getting beat up. I guess he was sacked 6 times. And then I have to say this. I thought that I saw one of the worst calls that I've seen in a long time, that they made right before the half. I mean, when you're struggling, you've got to help your football team. And with 55 seconds to go in the half, and they're backed up, I think on the 10 or 15 yard line, 3rd down and 17, and then they get a penalty, and it's 3rd and 22. And I'm sitting there. Tennessee's got 1 timeout, and I told Debbie, I said, okay, you run the ball here, you make Tennessee use their last timeout. You got the best punter in college football. You punt the ball away. And what do? They throw a 10-yard pass that wouldn't have even got a first down, and it gets picked for 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we doing? I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. So when you're struggling, you've got to help your football team. You can't make calls like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think sometimes that Shane Beamer is a little bit too, not going to say reckless, but going forward on 4th down, maybe sometimes a little too aggressive? Yeah.
Well, you want to be aggressive, but you want to be aggressive, with some common sense. I mean, even if they complete the pass, I mean, they're going to punt the ball, and Tennessee still got their timeout. It just makes no sense. You just don't. You don't. Anyway, I've said enough about it. I mean, but ever since Saturday night, I said, what in the world are they doing? So all of a sudden, instead of being down, I guess a touchdown, they're down by 2 touchdowns, and it didn't have to be that way. I mean, again, you've got to help your football team with common sense calls.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more on that one.
I'd hate to chime in on the top of it, but in addition to that, Chuck is completely, it just crushes Spencer, and it crushes the defense. I mean, they're having a hard enough time stopping people, and then you put one on the board for them. Ditto. That's all I can say.
That play sounds like that play got to both of you guys.
Well,
as a coach, Ellis and I. Go ahead,
I'm
Joe.
sorry. What? No, what'd you say, Ellis?
Well, as a coach, you look at certain things. When somebody gets run over up front on the offensive line, or somebody gets tracked down by somebody, you can see talent. When you make decisions, and there's a little bit going on upstate too, but you have to have the little terminology, we fence. You can have offense, you can have defense. Somebody's got to get we fence. Yeah, I think people get so concerned about calls, and we got to make this play, and we got to have this much yardage, and we got to have this many sacks and all that stuff, and they lose sight of where they are in the game, where the ball is on the field, how much time, what's the score. We working together. We don't need to pile on. I mean, they're not matching up physically, so it's a lot of things it's easy to sit here and say watching TV.
Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson with us here tonight on Chalk Talk on Sports Talk. And Coach Ellis, just sticking with that we fence type scenario, I've been concerned watching South Carolina's defense over the last couple of weeks. They seem to be awfully inconsistent. One week it's the pass defense that gets shredded, like Mississippi State, and then this past week, Tennessee able to run the football on them. When you sit down and watch them just from an X's and O's standpoint, is it talent that they're just not doing well? Are they getting beat up front so badly that it's causing problems? What do you see as maybe one of the reasons why they're ranked towards the bottom in virtually every statistical category in the SEC?
I think you mentioned the 2 things you brought up are very important. I mean, they're not matching up real well against a lot of better teams in the SEC. They continue to give up forced passes but they gave up 9 explosive runs. And it's a little bit style different for Tennessee this year, I think, than maybe last year. But, they got 2 takeaways in the pass game. I think they had 2 picks. Didn't do a terrible job at all against Tennessee, but Milton's not dependable. He's a little bit erratic. But the explosive runs hurt real bad, and 9 of them for 164 yards. That's 2/3 of the yardage they gave up on the ground. So it definitely is, and I know they're working hard at it, and I know they're not. I don't see them lining up at anything that doesn't make any sense. It's just a lot of times they're not able to control the line of scrimmage, and then they've got some key guys banged up in the secondary. When the ball gets into the perimeter, there's too many add-on yards as they're going before somebody can get the guy on the ground. So it's nothing I'm sure they don't see. I know they're working hard at it, but it has been consistently a problem. And, guys, we've only played the worst team in the SEC and a 1AA team. Wins over those guys. And it's not going to get much easier on down the road. Tennessee is a good offensive team, but not a great offensive team. The quarterback right now is not consistent.
Chuck Reedy, Ellis Johnson with us here on Sports Talk. All right, let's go to Clemson. Chuck, Tigers got a nice win up at Syracuse. Klubnik seemed to have a good game up there. He seemed to be composed. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way. Ran the ball well, effectively when he had to. Got the ball downfield on some big plays. What do you think of the offense? What do you think about his growth now coming off that loss to Florida State, and especially when you look back at how he played against Duke? How do you see his growth chart at this point?
Yeah, no, I thought he played very well, and the big key to him or with him is just to eliminate the critical turnovers. Obviously, he can make throws and he can certainly improvise with his feet, and he does a really good job throwing the ball on the move. And all of those things. I thought I thought he played very well. They didn't run the ball very well. And again, they made some throws down the field, but they had, the one throw they got to Bro Collins, was just a double move that they just beat the guy. I mean, it wasn't like they, it was stretch the field, throw the ball. I think they still don't have that. Obviously Tyler Brown is really made a difference. If they get Antonio Williams back, they're going to have 2 guys, that can do all of that underneath stuff. They still need somebody that can stretch the field for them. But and if you don't mind me saying this, the second worst call I saw that I've seen was Dino Babers kicking a daggone 57-yard field goal with 3 minutes to go in the half with the ball on the 40-yard line. In a I think it was a 7-point game at that point, and give the ball to Clemson. What in the world are people thinking? Punt the ball. Clemson had not driven the ball all day. They scored early on a turnover, and punt the ball down and make them drive the football. And you're going to kick a 57-yard field goal with 3 minutes to go in the half, and give Clemson the ball at the 40-yard line. I don't know. Maybe Ellis and I are relics, but I don't understand. I just don't understand that kind of stuff.
That's why he's 10 games under 500 as a coach at Syracuse.
Well,
Ellis, and I'll ask both of y'all. Ellis, Dabo Swinney, Clemson, when he wins his next game, that'll be 165 wins at Clemson, tying him with Frank Howard as the all-time winningest coach at Clemson. Does he go down as the greatest coach in Clemson history?
Not yet, no. He's certainly putting up things that will say that. And, and I think, I guess you're asking, how's he doing it? I think basically he's been recruiting. And I think he's been a tremendous CEO. And that doesn't mean he can't coach either. Just because somebody can coach and because they're a good CEO doesn't mean they can coach. I've seen him coach. But, I think he's certainly deserving if they can continue to put up some seasons like they have in recent times. I think the biggest thing, he's starting to figure out who they are. And they're not what they were for the past 10 years. They're not this explosive offense that's, just going to tag up, 3 or 4 major touchdowns in the first half and then come after people on defense when they get them behind schedule. They kind of look like they played to the defense the other day. They didn't really have a lot of great things, like Chuck said, on offense. They weren't playing badly, but at least the quarterback was taking care of the football in the first half. And one of their touchdowns, I think, was 3 yards out. But then they kind of picked it up later and put some explosive plays. But they got a top 10 defense right now, and if they continue to play up to their level, the most important thing they can do is quit trying to show on offense and take care of the football until they figure out exactly what they can and cannot do. They're exposing the football team to many bad plays on offense when they don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Chuck, Dabo Swinney going to go down as the greatest coach in Clemson football history?
Well, I think I think he will. I mean, obviously, I love Danny Ford, but I mean, you've got to say, I mean, Dabo, he's got 2 national championships, he's got more wins than anybody, and he's still, and he's going to add on to all of that. I mean, obviously, he's done, he's a Hall of Fame guy. I mean, but I agree with Ellison that they're not what they were 3, 4, 5 years ago. They're a good football team. They're not a dominant team as they were in 2016 through 2018 and during that period.
All right, gentlemen. Ellis, by the way, there's a new program on ABC called The Golden Bachelor. I kind of thought I might see you on there when I tuned in the other night.
Well, Chuck did say we're not relics. I'm going for regular bachelor program.
I got to say, I tuned in. I had to watch because my wife was watching it. I thought it was the grossest show I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry. 70-year-old women chasing a 71-year-old man. I'm sorry. Huh?
But Phil, have you seen them once, supposedly over in England or somewhere? And they stand there, and these men are behind these opaque glasses, where the women are, and they start raising the screen. The first thing you see is the feet, then you see the legs, then you see, and all that. It goes on up. And I'm thinking, if I had just been done a little earlier, I mean, I'd have a shot. But I just can imagine that thing raising up on me.
No, that'd be scary.
They'd probably call a dog catcher and think it was some animal control situation.
Oh, we should all look like Chuck. We should all look like Chuck when we turn to our golden years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying anything.
You're still
beautiful. Everybody should have a beautiful wife like I do when they get in their golden years.
There you go. That keeps you young. Listen, we appreciate it, guys. As always, have a great weekend. We'll get back with you. Will you be back in the country next week, Coach? Coach Reedy?
Back next week. Yes, sir, I will be.
That'd be great. We got great phone service down there to St. John's. Appreciate Verizon or T-Mobile or whoever you got hooked up with there. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Ellis Johnson. I'm looking for him on The Golden Bachelor. Did y'all watch that last night? Did you catch any of that?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's pretty
Golden
gross.
Bachelor, regular Bachelor, you name it. I've never watched it.
Well, I don't like any of them, but it was on, and I'm, peeking at it, and I'm like, this is awful, Okay, got to hit the break. Be right back.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff program.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. It's Palmetto Series time, so show your school spirit, feel that team pride, and get your tickets for a chance to win up to $200,000. Yeah, baby! As you know, in this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
Thanks again to the coaches for being with us on Chalk Talk. We've got SC Wild coming up after the bottom of the hour break. Want to welcome into the program good friend of Sports Talk from ExperienceColumbiaSC.com. Scott Powers is joining us. Good evening, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Phil. How are you doing today?
Man, we are as busy as we can be. I know you are the same. We appreciate you joining us. In particular, wanted to have you on to talk about a golf event coming to Columbia having to do with some big bombers.
Yeah. Ultimate Long Drive actually started this morning, and we'll be running for the next 4 days out at the Partee Golf Center. Tom Mason and his staff do such a fantastic job out there, and we were excited. It's an event that we've hosted a local event for the past several years, and we talked to them and decided this was the year that made sense to bring their world championship over to the Partee Golf Center.
Wow. I mean, that is fantastic. If you're just a regular golfer or you're an elite golfer, to go watch these guys hit the ball a mile, that's an experience. Give us some of the details about going out to watch it and what folks will see.
Yeah, everybody can come over to the Partee Golf Center over off Charleston Highway, where the beautiful water tower is in Casey with the mural painted on it, the golf mural. Today was the 70 and over, 65 and over. I think 60 and 55 and overs were all crowned today, and they walked away with some classic Ric Flair-esque WWE belts. And we will continue that tomorrow. We will go from older to younger as we go 50, 45, and 40s. And then we'll finish up on the weekend with the men's open on Friday and Saturday, and then the adaptive finals as well, plus the women on Sunday. So it's going to be a full week of some guys and ladies hitting some big tee shots.
Open to the public. Is this is there a charge or is it free to the public?
It is free and open to the public. So we hope people will come out, and the weather should be great over the next several days. Starts every morning at 9 a.m., runs till probably mid-afternoon. But we are excited to have them in. Jeff Gilder, his staff with Ultimate Long Drive do a fantastic job. I think folks may remember him from years ago. We helped them bring the Racers Reunion event over to historic Columbia Speedway over in KCL Charleston Highway, and he's once again bringing another fantastic event that we think the public can gather around.
Wow. How far are these folks hitting the golf ball?
Hey, to me, that's out of sight. When they hit it and they keep going up and up, but and they're hitting it out to 400 yards.
Wow. Got to get out and watch that, and that's just one of many things coming to Columbia. We'll get you back on with us in a couple of weeks to talk about more of the events, but that sounds like a fun one. Scott, thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, Phil. Thank y'all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Get out and watch those big bombers at the Partee driving range. Back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy tonight with the low temp dipping down to 59. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and a few clouds and some noticeable haze from those Canadian wildfires. We'll top out with a high of 82. Friday, a mix of sun and clouds, and 83 the high. Cooler on the weekend. Saturday's high is 77, while on Sunday, just a high of 70. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. More bad news for the Biden team. The numbers from a new Gallup poll find 53% of respondents say the Republicans are the best party to handle the economy, compared to 39% who say it's the Democrats. That 14-point edge is the largest Republicans have enjoyed since 1991. Fraud trial in New York of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried underway in a Manhattan court. Now, prosecutors say Bankman-Fried allegedly defrauded thousands of investors and customers in his business of literally billions of dollars by siphoning off their money for his own use. 31-year-old has pleaded not guilty. The International Monetary Fund says it expects the U.S. to continue playing its key role in helping Ukraine. This is SRN News.
See, I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Platte Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
Hey honey. Do you remember if Dad took his meds this morning?
I'm not sure.
He isn't either. Keeping up with his meds is overwhelming.
True Pharmacy packages medication. They showed me a sample, and it even separates them by date and time of day.
Something like that would be really helpful for Dad and for me.
Even better, it's free, just for being their customer. True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway and 3217 Devine Street. Or TrueRxSC.com.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
It is a time for another edition of SC Wild from DNR here on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network with Major Billy Downer. Good to have him back in South Carolina. Good to have him back with us on the program. Major, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you tonight, Phil?
Man, we're doing fantastic. Let me tell folks that if they want to reach out to you with a comment or a question or an observation, something that they've seen in the outdoors around South Carolina, something that they have a question about DNR and the way things are done, then give us a call. That phone number is 888-898-2525. We'll put you right in touch with Major Downer, who answers all questions and shares everything he knows about everything. So I'll begin things by noting that if I read this correctly, we have the end of alligator season in South Carolina coming up this Sunday. Is that correct?
Saturday, yep, that's right. It goes Saturday to Saturday. That's correct. So alligator season ends. It starts that Saturday and first Saturday in September and goes through the Saturday in October. They try to do that so that people can't or won't forget it. The second Saturday in October, which is this Saturday. So, or actually, that's not this Saturday. It's another week. So it runs through the 14th this year. But yes, it will be ending before our next show.
Gotcha. So not this Saturday, it's the following Saturday. Why is it so limited? Why is it just a month-long period? Is it because they don't want to have overkill? They don't want to overdo it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons for that. So number one, it's the best time to have people hunting alligators. This time of year, it's not as many people on the water, because some places people alligator hunt, there are people recreating, fishing, that kind of thing. So it's just a better time to do it as far as after the summer. Also, it cools off a little bit. As it starts getting cooler like it is now, alligator activity is going to slow down a little bit. They're still active, but not near as active they are in the hot summer months. But it's really based around the best time to do it and just a lack of activity by other recreation on the water, so it makes it safer.
What kind of reports are you getting regarding the season so far in terms of numbers, size? I read one story where your folks down there, I'm trying to remember, you've mentioned them before, the people who process gators. Is it Courtney?
301 Deer Processing or Cadres? Yeah.
Cadres, and they had an 11-foot. Right. They had an 11-foot gator, and they opened his mouth, and they found embedded in his bottom jaw a 3-point antler. That yeah. Did you read that story?
I did not, but nothing surprises me from that standpoint as far as, things surprising end up an alligator. They are, when they get that big, again, as we talked about, they're opportunistic. They're going to take dogs. They're going to take hunting dogs, personal dogs. So we talk to people being simple and just, when you're walking around water, we've talked about that this year, just reminding folks because we had some incidents where people have taken their dogs down in the water and they come out, they come after the dog and the person gets involved and it never ends up good for the alligator or the person. So, but as far as the season this year, we've had several 12-foot and greater taken. Generally there's a 13-footer somewhere in there. I think I've seen one, but several 12-foot 7, 12-foot 9 gators have been taken. It's very common. Everybody's after that quote unquote trophy alligator. And what someone calls a trophy. So we have been very careful. Our biologists have. We don't keep records of the gators taken as far as just the number, not the lengths. We don't keep a record book on that because we're not trying to make this a trophy hunt. This is about control. It's about controlling a population. That's what it's about. It's about removing, cutting that population down.
If you did not do that, if we did not have a gator season like this, what would it be like? What would happen?
Well, you'd see what we already see as far as gators, continuing expanding their range. As far as young gators, when spring hits, it starts to get warm, and the mating season, or breeding season begins for gators. You're going to see, large males are going to push other males out, and that's when you see alligators in places you don't normally see them. In the early, late spring, early summer, you'll see gators crossing roads and in weird places. And a lot of times it's a male gator that's been displaced by a bigger male that's territorial and pushing that male out. And so if you don't control this population, you're going to see, that's on the inland basis. When you get to waterways, there's going to be more alligators in the waterways just because they're going to be around water. That's their environment. There'll be more human-gator interaction. And we're seeing increased human-gator interaction already. Without the season, it would be even worse. So that's really our focus right now, is to just help to control the population, try to minimize the human interaction with alligators as best we can. And we've actually, I know I talked about this one of the shows in the past, because of the increased interaction we've seen, we have added, I think they added 100 more tags to the draw this year or even last year to just try to get more opportunity to remove more gators. So it's a balancing act. I mean, nobody knows the exact number of gators we have. We have a pretty good idea. But without that season, without again, the season is just one portion of the control method. The other method is our private lands program, which involves plantations up and down the coast, anybody that owns a private pond. A lot of these private communities can participate in the program. They have tags to remove the gators on their own without having to call us, and it's a program they involved in. So it's kind of a multi-pronged approach. If you remember, we talked about that with Morgan, and she talked about that. There's several avenues by which we try to control alligator populations. But yeah, so October 14th is when that ends. So that's where we are with gators. The big news right now as far as where we are in the year, as we drifted into October on the 1st, is now legal to spread wheat for doves, topsoil wheat. So that's a big interest. And it's interesting, as long as this has been going on, people always ask me about it. I got to ask in the office, can they do that now? Yes, they can. So from October 1st through November 30th, people can now topsoil wheat across fields to attract doves. Now, and you can hunt legally over that. Now, there are some stipulations to that, and one of the things we want to make sure we make clear is the ground has to be tilled up. You have to have, it has to be soil to seed contact. Can't just be grass. Can't get a grass field, cut the grass real tight, and then start spreading wheat. You've got to till the ground. Again, the words that we like to use is a well-prepared seedbed established by heavy tilling, which basically means there's a lot of dirt showing, not grass. So you've got to till the ground up. So evenly spread in our state, up to 200 pounds per acre is what you can spread if you're using a spin spreader, which is a lot of wheat. And people have asked the questions in the past. Well, after we till it, can we cultipack it or can we pack the ground? Yes, you can. You can, absolutely. You just have to make sure that anything you do is according to Clemson guidelines. And Clemson guidelines allows up to 200 pounds of wheat spread per acre. And when people ask, well, why does it matter what Clemson says? Well, because we're doing this based on an exemption by the Fish and Wildlife Service that allows you to plant according to your state agriculture department, or as far as your authority over agriculture. And Clemson is our guideline. And they have said that it is legal to topsoil wheat, that it is a normal agricultural practice between October 1st and November 30th to topsoil wheat on a well-prepared seed bed established with heavy tilling up to 200 pounds per acre. And that's why we could do that for doves. Now, dove season is going to end soon, so a lot of people may start baiting now, but you got to kind of keep in mind the timing of it all. And that's one of the considerations to think about. Our season ends October the 7th, and then the first season, the second season comes in before Thanksgiving, what we call a Thanksgiving season, November 11th. So if you topsoil wheat now, you're hoping to get doves to the 7th, which is pretty fast. Most people probably will concentrate on disking up ground and topsoil wheat, maybe a week prior or 2 weeks prior to November 11th. So probably around the 1st of November, if you're really trying to time it right to have doves have time to find the wheat, it would be best to probably topsoil around the 1st of November, end of October. Again, you can legally topsoil wheat between October 1st and November 30th. Folks sometimes try to cheat and do it ahead of October 1st. If you've done that, that's considered baiting because it's not inside the dates that Clemson says you can do it. If you topsoil November the 30th, that's legal and you can hunt after November 30th, or you just can't keep adding to it. The main thing that people try to do is sow an area and then sow it again, or disc it up again and sow it again. You can't do that. You can only plant it one time. We've gone through this before on the show, but I want to remind folks, if you disc an area up and you topsoil wheat on it, that's done. You can't keep adding to it. But you can strip a field. In other words, you can disc some strips in a field, topsoil wheat on those strips, come back later and disc new strips where it hadn't been disced, topsoil wheat there. You can do it in stages. You just can't reseed an area or disc over an area and then reseed again. You can't do that. We're happy that we're able to do this now, but you just got to do it by the rules. I guess the difficult thing to me is, since this has happened, I haven't seen the flocks of doves come to the wheat like they used to when I was growing up. Our dove season landscape, if you will, has changed to really heavy sunflower fields that require a lot of work, proper planting, lots of chemical regime to control weeds, to keep a field clean. It's expensive, but it's very effective. I don't know of many dove fields that's open season when it comes in on Labor Day weekend that aren't shot over sunflowers, at least on some portion of the field. And sunflowers are kind of the go-to now. So it's interesting. I haven't seen, I've talked to other officers, haven't really seen that big result. We thought when you bring topsoil back, it was going to make, doves going to start coming and people could just disc a field up, spread wheat, and it'd be a big dove field. And it just hadn't really worked out that way as far as we've seen so far. Now, there's always areas that break that, and there's areas that you spread wheat, and the doves come flocking to it, no doubt about it. That's great, but overall, I hadn't seen what I expected to have seen. I've done it myself in fields and not seen the production of doves that I thought you might see, come in reacting to that or coming to feed. So it just depends, and particularly as you get into the later part of the season, the Thanksgiving season, and certainly the December season from the 24th on through the 31st, that last season, you're getting what we call migratory birds. These are birds that move in from up north, and they come in big flocks. They fly differently. They fly in big flocks. They don't come in single ones and twos like they do in the early season when you're hunting local birds. They just come in big flocks, and they zoom in and zoom out. And if you don't get migratory birds, they can, if you don't get a bunch of flocks of them, it can be a really quick, short hunt. Because a few birds do come in in one big wad and then leave as soon as you shoot, and the hunt's over. But that's the challenge of dove hunting. That's just kind of how it goes, and that's what we do. But again, just a reminder to folks that you can top sow for wheat now, and that really is wrapping the update up for dove hunting. We are in the middle of deer season. Deer season's open all across the state now, pretty much wherever you want to. In some form or fashion, there's the other zones have come into the primitive weapon seasons are open. Soon enough, in the weeks to come, it'll be gun season across the state. Of course, game zone 3 and 4. We've been in the gun season now since September 1st on 3 and 4. So a lot of deer being taken. Haven't heard of really any big bucks to report about yet. We're entering that time. It's starting to get cool. And as we always say, when it starts getting cool, your bucks are going to start getting a little antsy. They're going to start showing up, start acting stupid, as most guys do when they start chasing women. They just act, they lose their mind. So deer are a good example of us. And when they lose their mind, they're not as smart. They come out in times they shouldn't come out. And that's when guys have an opportunity, and when ladies, men and women, both have an opportunity to take a deer. And that's what we call the rut. And that's typically generally somewhere between October 15th and November 15th, roughly. But it can vary from year to year. It can be late into November and toward Thanksgiving. So I've seen nice bucks taken anywhere in October and November. So it just depends on the year. It depends on your location. But certainly I am enjoying the cool nights and cool mornings, and that typically gets deer season fired up for us.
Yeah.
So we look to see that coming up here very soon.
It is going to start turning cooler for sure, and that makes it much more pleasant. I got to believe to this point, out in the fields, it's been a little bit uncomfortable because it's still been warm and it's been maybe, I guess, still a little buggy out there. You're having to fight those things off?
Yeah, it's buggy, all right. So this South Carolina, where the state bird is the mosquito, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's heard that before, but I know just a small story, and I hate to tell on our chief of staff, but she went out and visited with our archaeologists in this past weekend, and she got just a bad case of red bugs. And that's something you just forget about, but red bugs are out there, and just like mosquitoes, yellow flies, horse flies, they're all. I went to visit Hampton Plantation this past weekend. Great little one-day trip out to the home of Archibald Rutledge, the poet laureate of South Carolina, as it were, and the author of many good hunting stories that are home here to South Carolina. Came back to his plantation in the 20s and redid the plantation, wrote some great books, Plantation Game Trails, Woods and Wild Things. I remember some good books that I've read in my youth and have copies of today that I enjoy looking back at some of the stories that he wrote. A lot about waterfowl hunting on the coast, because Hampton Plantation, at one time, they owned, it still do now, but at the time, they had active rice fields between the South and North Santee River. Huge area of waterfowl hunting. So great stories, good deer hunting stories, good turkey hunting stories. So it was really fun to go down there, but I was with someone. We were walking in the gardens behind Hampton Plantation, and mosquitoes were biting. And I was like, well, I can take mosquitoes, but the yellow flies are hard to stand. And if you go over to Santee Coastal Reserve right across the road, you can get inundated with yellow flies and mosquitoes. And the yellow flies hurt. They just do. But I don't know how people lived back when they lived in the day when they didn't have air conditioning in the houses, and we've gotten really soft. And you go out there and how they would work in those fields with all those mosquitoes and the yellow flies, it's hard to imagine. But did enjoy that trip. But talking about, mosquitoes, bugs, red bugs, all those things, one of the little known, hunters know this, but you can forget. And the first time I go, I'll probably forget to take my thermocell. If you don't take that thermocell with it, it's going to be a short night if you get out quick, or you're going to either be miserable sitting there, getting eaten up. But a thermocell is a great item that doesn't tend to scare deer off. And they've become very popular today. They come in little camouflage colors. Not that it matters, because you're not going to have them where they can see it anyway. But you can put them in your pocket, put them up and stand with you. And they are great for yellow flies, mosquitoes, the whole 9 yards, and even no-shims. They work really well for those. The no-shims are probably the hidden agenda on the coast that everybody fears the most. They're just a vicious little creature to be as small as they are, like a flea. But anyway, so yes, bugs are a big deal. Preparing for that. Cool weather does slow it down, but if you're in anywhere around pine woods that have lots of pine straw and wet areas, you're going to have mosquitoes. So think about that.
You're telling me that coating yourself with deep woods off, for example, is not going to be the remedy?
Oh yeah, it's a great remedy, but nothing's going to want to come near you. A deer can smell out a mile away.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. All right, so I forgot, Phil. I have to constantly think about what to still not know. Let's go over this.
Everything. Phil not knows everything.
So you have been schooled over the last 6 years.
True.
You're doing great. But
I'm getting there.
Here's another opportunity. Another opportunity.
Okay.
So deer have 3 really great things that aid them against predators, including us. They got great eyesight, for the most part. But the number one thing they got is their nose. They can see, they can smell better than any. It's incredible how they can smell. And the wind can just whip one time and turn toward them, and that doe's going to alert or buck, and they're going to turn tail and run. And they may be 100 yards off or more. It's amazing how they can smell. They do have really good hearing for the most part. But wind and other things can mask, sounds, and typically that can make deer real skittish in the woods. I've seen deer get scared when they step on a stick and break it. I've seen a deer jump just from that.
Yeah.
Their eyesight is really good, but it is in a black and white setting. So when I say black and white, they're colorblind. So they can see movement when they really focus. But they're not really good if you use camouflage and you don't move. You can hide from a deer, but if they're focused, when that doe turns those ears out, and I call it radar cuts on them, and they'll do a little move, they like to fool you, they'll take the head and go down. And they'll be looking up the whole time, like they're eating, but they're not. And the ears are up, and they'll sit the head down, put it up, put it down, put it up, put it down, and they're waiting for you to get fooled by that and make a move. And if you do, off they go. But smell is number one, so no deep woods off. Can't have that. Your thermocell does have somewhat of a smell, but typically deer aren't as bothered by that. But deep, yeah, they're gone.
How about
You'll never
that?
see a deer if you do that.
Really?
Now, deep is fine when you're turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Turkey hunting, turkeys can't smell, so you're great. But a deer, not so much. That's a bad idea.
Let me ask you, too, while we're talking about hunting season, what's going on out there with the wild hog situation?
All right, so wild hogs are continually, the feral hogs as we call them, are continually a problem in our state. They will continue to be because they just can have up to 2 and 3 litters in a year, up to 8 to 10 at a time as far as that. And it's hard to keep up with that. Rains, floods can control hogs and kill them back a little bit, but our hog problems here to stay. People typically aren't hog hunting this time of year. They will shoot hogs while they're deer hunting. And that's going. People are encouraged to take those hogs, get them processed. They make good barbecue. They make some good sausage out of a wild hog. It's very good, very tasty. But again, throughout the year, we have that season of the night hunting ability of the night hunting season for hogs, specifically for hogs, coyotes, and armadillos. I always love how armadillos got thrown in there.
Yeah.
But you can do the night hunting registration where you register your property online, list of shooters that are going to be there, and you can shoot hogs, coyotes, and armadillos year-round at night to help us control our coyote and our hog. Again, when you talk about hogs, when we talk about night hunting, we got to talk about coyotes. And coyotes are a huge problem. Our deer population seems to have learned their way around coyotes to a degree. Coyotes do still have an effect on our population by attacking young fawns, but deer have adapted as they always do, and they're not having as big effect as they used to. However, our department, as always, is encouraging hunters to take coyotes wherever they see them. They are not a natural part of our landscape, neither are hogs. So if you're deer hunting, you see a hog or a coyote, we encourage you to remove that animal because they're not part of our natural environment. So we need to take as many as we can to help our deer herds out.
Well, it's a big time in South Carolina with the sports season and the hunting season's going on, and good time to get outdoors as the temperature drops. And Major, we appreciate it as always. Great stuff. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy it, sir. See you in 2 weeks.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much. Major Billy Downer with his visit with us here on Sports Talk. Appreciate it very much. Hope you learned something. I certainly did. And thank you, Pat. Everybody have a great night. See you tomorrow. Here.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia.